Good morning, everybody. You're listening to the Sportsocology Show, and I'm your host, Bill Knutson. It is Sunday morning, September 7th, 2014. I'm recording the show. It's about 9 o'clock in the morning on one of the best days of the calendar year, the start of the NFL football season. Now, I know the other night Packers and Seahawks officially started the season, but you know what I mean. Almost everybody else is playing this afternoon or this evening. There are two games tomorrow night, including my mighty Giants playing the early Monday game. Don't forget, there are two Monday night games tomorrow, 7 o'clock and 10:30 approximately. But anyway, today, obviously, since it is the start of the NFL season, I'm going to give my division picks and Super Bowl picks and see how crazy, or hopefully not too crazy, those picks are, and talk a little bit of college football. It might be a little bit of a shorter show today because I've got friends coming over, as I do every weekend for football. So I've got to do a little preparation work. I've got to check on my fantasy team as well. I might touch on that for a moment today. But we'll see where things go. Right now, I'm going to do the NFL. I'm just going to go division by division, tell you what I think, pick a Super Bowl winner, and we'll see when it's all said and done how I did. NFC East, as much as I would love to go with my Giants, I cannot do that because I'm not going to give just homer picks because, nobody wants to listen to that. If I honestly thought the Giants would be the team, I would pick them. But if I'm going with my head and not my heart, I really can't pick the Giants. I think the Redskins will be better. I don't think RG3 could be as bad as he was last year. They got Deshaun Jackson. They've made some improvements. The Cowboys still going to have a terrible defense, it appears. They're going to score points, but they'll have to win games like 40-35, it seems, every week, just about, unless the Cowboys come out of nowhere with their terrible defense from last year, and I don't think they did much, if anything, to improve it. My Giants, they're struggling with the new West Coast offense. I think the defense is going to struggle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the Eagles, much as I hate them. I'm going to pick the Eagles to win the NFC East. Hopefully I'm wrong and the Giants surprise people and win it. But that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pick the Eagles. The NFC North, I know that the Packers were pretty well dominated by the Seahawks the other night. The Seahawks are trying to prove that it's possible to repeat. And it's not that it's impossible. It hasn't been done since the Patriots repeated 10 years ago, back in 2004. But it's very difficult. And of the last 9 Super Bowl winners combined, they only have one playoff game the year after they won the Super Bowl. So one playoff win from the last 9 Super Bowl winners combined. So that's just showing you it's not only hard to repeat, but it's hard just to get back to the playoffs after winning the Super Bowl. I don't think the Seahawks will have that issue. I can't see how they wouldn't make the playoffs. But anyway, in the NFC North, you've got the Packers, you've got the Bears, the Vikings. I think the Bears are improved. I think their offense will be pretty good, but the Bears' weakness, I think, is on defense at the moment, which has been a strength of theirs for decades. But I think that's a weakness of theirs at the moment. The Lions, they're the Lions. They have a lot of talent on both sides of the ball, but for some reason they never live up to their full potential. A lot of stupid penalties and whatever other issues they have. But they never seem to live up to the talent they seem to have on paper. So what I'm going to do, with the Vikings, quarterback issues, obviously they have the great Adrian Peterson, but I don't think they have a tremendous amount other than that. what I'm going to do is pick Green Bay. I know that's not going out on a limb, but I can only calls it as I sees it, right? As Popeye would say, right? I calls it as I sees it. So I'm going to go with the Packers there. The NFC South, that division, it's like every year there's a different winner. You got the Saints, the Bucks, not the Packers, Panthers, and the Falcons from where I am here in Atlanta. Hate the Falcons. I think the Falcons will, I don't know if they will, but they might have a little bit of a struggle on defense. Matt Ryan is very good. They've got Julio Jones, to a lesser extent, Roddy White. I don't know about the running game. So I don't know. I know the Panthers won the division last year. I don't have a lot of faith in the Panthers. I'm not a Cam Newton fan. I know he's got all kinds of talent, but I just don't like him. He's beaten up now, a little bit of a fractured rib issue. They lost some of their offensive weapons. I think the Buccaneers are better than they were last year. Some people are even picking them possibly to win a playoff spot. But I'm going to go with the Saints. The Saints have proven over the last 8-9 years. Drew Brees is awesome. That offense is prolific. I think the defense is pretty solid. So I'm going to go with the Saints. In fact, I'm wearing a Saints shirt right now because the Saints are here in Atlanta playing the Falcons. As I've said before, I do not like the Falcons. I hope the Saints win, but I have a dilemma because in my fantasy football league, like I said, I want the Saints to win, but I've got Drew Brees going against me today. So I'm hoping somehow that the Saints win, but Brees doesn't have a big game. But that seems pretty impossible to be able to get both. But we'll see how it goes. The NFC West, they've got some good teams out there. Obviously, the world champion Seahawks, the 49ers have had issues. They've had a little bit of injury issues. And then the morons that, with the DUIs and the domestic violence issues that they have, I think the 49ers will take a step back. I think the Cardinals, they were 10-6 last year and didn't make the playoffs. I think they may make a playoff run and actually get a spot this year. The Rams are very good on defense, but what do they have on offense? Not much. I don't even know really who's playing quarterback for the Rams. It might as well be me. But I don't have faith in them challenging for the division title. So I'm going to go out on a tremendous limb, hint of sarcasm, and pick the Super Bowl champion Seahawks to win the West. All right, to the AFC East, got the Patriots, Jets, Bills, Dolphins. Bills, I don't trust them. I think they'll go another year without making the playoffs. It's been since they lost the Music City Miracle playoff game in '99. Bills haven't been to the playoffs since. I think that streak will continue. Jets, they've got a solid defense, but quarterback, very iffy. Running game might be a little bit better this year than last year, now that they have Chris Johnson, but I think Chris Johnson is, his best days are behind him. He's not the Chris Johnson of a few years ago running for 2,000 yards. So I don't trust their offense at all. The Dolphins, I don't know. My brother's a big Dolphins fan, which I don't understand that growing up in New York, but I don't trust them. I think every year they're just good enough to be mediocre. And last year, all they had to do was win one of their last 2 games at home, including a game against the Jets, and they would have made the playoffs, and they lost both of them and didn't make it. So I'm thinking 8-8, maybe 9-7 for the Dolphins. Not that great. The AFC East, of course, belongs to the Patriots, as much as I don't really like them either. They're going to go 12-4, 13-3, and whatever. And again, I kind of have a dilemma. The Patriots are playing the Dolphins. I really want the Dolphins to win the game because I don't like the Patriots. But I have Tom Brady and Shane Vereen in for the Patriots. So it's kind of like what I said earlier about the Saints-Falcons. I want the Saints to win, but Breeze not to have a big game. I want the Dolphins to win, but I need Brady and Vereen to have a great game. Now, of course, if Brady and Vereen have a great game, Dolphins have no chance. So I'm kind of asking for two things, and there's no way I'm going to get both of them. But we'll see how that goes. AFC North, that might be the toughest one to pick. Do you go with the Bengals, the Steelers, Ravens? Browns are in there. The Browns are going to be last again. I don't see the Browns doing much, even if Manziel eventually gets in and gets to play. Don't see the Browns doing that much because the Browns are the Browns. They're not going to compete with the other three. Got the Ravens. Ray Rice is out the first couple of games. They were a little bit down last year, but I expect them to be in the thick of it. Steelers, they were a bit down last year. They were a bit older. But, I think they might step up and actually do something. And the Bengals are young. They have a lot of talent. Dalton gets some abuse, but he just got paid the big money, so he's going to have to step up and prove that he's worthy of it. But I think he's pretty good. A.J. Green is really good. They've got a pretty good running game, with Giovanni running around out there, and they got a good guy from LSU as a rookie. He was really good at LSU. I know the NFL is a different world, but we'll see. So that one's kind of tough for me, but I think I'm going to take the Cincinnati Bengals to win the AFC North and see how it goes. The AFC South, I don't think will be that difficult. The Texans were 2-14 last year. I don't expect that. I think Clowney, there on defense with J.J. Watt will make the defense solid. Arian Foster's a very good running back. You still have Andre Johnson on the outside. I don't know about, Kirkpatrick as the quarterback for the Texans, so I don't think they'll be 2-14, but I don't think they're going to be up top challenging for anything. Titans, I don't really see them being that great. So I think Andrew Luck is only getting better. Reggie Wayne is healthy. I don't know if Richardson's going to do anything in the backfield. He was just terrible last year for the Browns and the Colts. I don't see why he was so bad. He's big, he's strong, he's quick, but he just didn't get it done last year. I expect him to be a bit better. And there are some weapons on the outside with Reggie Wayne and T.Y. Hilton. So I'm going to pick the Colts to win the South. I don't think that's really going out on a limb, but, that's the way I see that one right now. And the AFC West, I think, might be a little competitive. Chiefs made the playoffs last year. I don't think they'll be quite as good as they were last year. The Chargers, you just never know with the Chargers. They always seem to start off slow and then make a run late in the season. The Raiders, I don't know. I don't know if Derek Carr is going to be any good as a rookie quarterback. He is starting today against the Jets. He's got potential, but, we'll see how that goes. I don't trust the Raiders at all. I think this is a pretty easy call, out there in Denver. They got some guy, number 18, some guy that's pretty good chucking the ball around. Peyton Manning, of course. So that's a pretty easy call. I'll pick the Broncos to win the West. All right, so I got to pick two NFC wild cards, and I'm trying to think who that might be. I think I kind of like the Bears. I think their defense will be improved. I think Cutler's going to be better. You got Matt Forte in the backfield. He's a stud, catching the ball and running. They got Alshon Jeffrey, Brandon Marshall on the outside. I think the defense will do enough. And I'm going to pick the Bears to get one of the playoff spots, and I'm debating. I don't know if you can get, as I was thinking about the Lions, but that would mean I'm picking 3 teams from the NFC North, and I don't see that happening. So even though I'm going to hate that pick, this pick I'm about to make, I think I'm going to pick the Atlanta Falcons to get a wild card spot. I know they were only, I think it was 4-12. I'm pretty sure they were 4-12 last year. They had some injuries to key people like Julio Jones and things of that nature. I think, as well as the Falcons normally play at home, that they'll probably go, 7-1 at home, and they can get, they might be 6-2, 7-1 at home, and they can get 3 or 4 games on the road maybe. I think the Falcons will do just enough to squeak into the playoffs and get maybe that 6th spot in the NFC. In the AFC, who am I going to come up with for 2 wild cards? I think that I'm going to go with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think they'll do just enough. I have Roethlisberger as my backup QB, so I'm hoping he does well. And you know how the NFL is. There's always a couple of teams, 2, 3, maybe even 4, that made the playoffs last year that won't this year. And there's always 2 or 3 teams, whatever, that miss the playoffs, and the following season they make it. So I've got the Falcons in the NFC as one of those teams making the playoffs that didn't. AFC, I just picked the Steelers, and they didn't make the playoffs last year, but I'm going to pick them to make the playoffs this year. And I'm going to go out on a limb. I told you before that the Dolphins, all they had to do was win one of their last 2 games, and they would make the playoffs. They didn't get it done. They blew those 2 games, including one to the Jets at home that they should have won, and they didn't. But I'm going to say the Dolphins figure out a way at 9-7, maybe 10-6, to squeak in and get that final playoff spot. So just to recap, in the NFC, I've got the East going to the Eagles, the North going to the Packers, the South going to the Saints, the West going to the Seahawks, and the 2 wild cards going to the Bears and the Falcons. In the AFC, I've got the East to the Patriots, North to the Bengals, South to the Colts, West to the Broncos, and I have the Steelers and the Dolphins getting the 2 wild card spots. Now, I'm going to pick the Super Bowl, and I know this is crazy before the season even starts, but, we'll have some fun with it, see how accurate I am. A couple of these will probably end up like, what was I thinking? But, as I'm looking at it now, I'm picking. Let's see, who do I want to pick for the Super Bowl? I'm going to say, that somehow, as good as the Seahawks look, that they don't make it, because it's so difficult. But if anybody, had us a chance in the last 10 years, like I said, since the Patriots repeated 10 years ago, it would be the Seahawks. But I'm going to say it's not going to be them. I'm going to pick the New Orleans Saints to win the NFC and get to Super Bowl 49, February 1st, 2015, out in Arizona. I'm going to pick the Saints. And in the AFC, who am I going to pick? The easy choice would be the Broncos. I think they can do it. I'm debating whether it's going to be the Broncos or the Patriots. And I'm going to go with the Broncos. Might be a little bit because I'm a big Peyton Manning fan and not a fan of the Patriots. But I'm going to say Saints and the Broncos. And I'm going to say that Peyton gets his 2nd Super Bowl. Now, there's a little part of me that doesn't trust the Broncos. Like last year when the Broncos and the Seahawks played, I actually thought the Broncos would win a close game because of Peyton, but obviously he was totally shut down, as was his offense. And the Seahawks were just awesome on both sides of the ball and took care of business. But I'm going to pick the Broncos over the Saints, Super Bowl 49 in February. And we'll see how crazy that is, or not, as the year goes on. So that's it for the NFL at this moment. All right, a little bit of college football. The thing I didn't like about yesterday, there were so many games between powerhouse teams and little teams that really had no business being on the field with them. Now, I know it's a good thing for the little team to get paid $500,000 or $700,000, whatever it is, to go to Alabama or LSU or Florida and get run right out of the building, but they get the experience of playing, with 100,000 fans and playing in the big-time stadiums and all that. I get it. But as a fan, I really don't want to watch a team win 73-3. Texas A&M won 73-3 yesterday. LSU won 56-0. Florida won 63-0. There were other teams that won like 70-3. I don't know. I just don't like it. I would rather see, the more competitive games, like when Michigan State played Oregon yesterday. That's a big game. Last week, LSU played Wisconsin. Yesterday, USC and Stanford. Notre Dame and Michigan, which are two powers. I thought that game would be competitive, but Notre Dame blew Michigan out 31-0. That's rare. When two big-time schools get together, a blowout is very, very rare. That doesn't happen very much. But really what I wanted to say, besides get rid of the cupcake games, nobody wants to see, an LSU beat Sam Houston State 56-0. Or, somebody beat Florida Atlantic 70-3. Or Texas A&M beat Lamar. Does anybody even know where Lamar is? And they won like 73-3. That's not football. That's like a real football team against a middle school team, junior high school team. It's ridiculous. Fans don't want to see it. The players in the big schools, I doubt they get very pumped up to play on Lamar. Now, I understand, 1 in a million lightning strikes, and, David beats Goliath. I get it, and those are great moments, but they're so rare. From 7 years ago when Appalachian State went to the big house at Michigan and beat them. Okay. But they had the rematch the other day, and Michigan won 52-14, So that was the rare lightning in the bottle 7 years ago, Get rid of the cupcake games. I think the big power conferences, the SEC, ACC, Big 12, Big 10, Pac-12, add an extra conference game. Play 9 conference games. I know that you can use a break to practice and whatever, like LSU played Sam Houston State. Their schedule is brutal. But I want them to add a 9th conference game, and they already had a tough out-of-conference game. So if you have a tough out-of-conference game and you add a 9th conference game, that's 10 really good games. Another rivalry game, for the 9th one, and then play, maybe try and have a rivalry of a good team that's close to you. Now in Louisiana, LSU is it. Nobody else is good in Louisiana, but, geographics-wise, there are other teams that are close to LSU that, maybe they could have a rivalry with outside of the conference. Or maybe it's Wisconsin. They started the season with Wisconsin this year. 2 years from now, in 2016, LSU starts against Wisconsin. They're playing at Lambeau Field in Green Bay, and yours truly will be at that game, September 3rd, 2016. LSU, Wisconsin, at Lambeau Field, home of the legendary Green Bay Packers. It's on my bucket list to see Lambeau Field. Now, I always pictured it a Green Bay Packers game, which someday I might actually do. But if I have to go see my LSU Tigers play Wisconsin at Lambeau Field, I'm good with that as well. But I want these teams to add an extra conference game, so that'll be 9 conference games, and also make sure you play a good out-of-conference game. So that would be 10 of your 12 that are either conference games or a good outside conference game. It would be better for the fans. It would cut down on the cupcake games, but you could still have a cupcake game or 2, but not 3 or 4. You know, you could have a game against an easier team earlier in the season to get your freshmen some experience and, you know, get the offense and the defense gelling against a team that's not really going to challenge you too much. You can work on that. But adding that 9th conference game and having a good out-of-conference game will be better for the fans. It's also better for you in terms of the committee picking you to make a playoffs or not. So I think we need to do that. 9 conference games and a good out-of-conference game. So you have 10 of your 12 really good, and still, like I said, give yourself a chance against a lesser opponent or 2, but no more than 2, to work on things. And it also gives the smaller schools, like I said, they get a nice payday. They get to come and play at LSU or at Michigan or at Alabama or at Florida and have the big-time experience. So I think it'll work out better for everybody involved. Well, I think that's all I've got. Got to get ready for friends coming over. Get ready for the big NFL season to come. I hope it's a great one. I hope my Giants are better than everybody, including myself, thinks they will be. I hope my fantasy team, the Pigskin Pimps, are kicking butt today and for the season. I'm ready to win my 2nd championship. It's been a while since I've had the trophy. Ready for it. Everybody, have a great day out there. Get where you need to be. Watch all the great NFL. Have a great rest of the season. You know how to follow me. Twitter, Facebook. Look for my show. I'll download it, tonight. It'll be on the air by tomorrow morning. Look for it, the Sportsocology Show on YouTube. Like I said, have a great day. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll see you next time, America, wherever you are.